You're so busy being mom or dad or whatever that role is that you don't know who you'll be without that around it. Your whole identity is gone. So it's very similar. It's the same stuff that you're dealing with. And it's easy to just go, okay, what's everyone else doing right now? I'm going to do that thing and not really process, does the me under all this that I've been shoving down all these years, does she want to come out? Do I want her to come out? I'd kind of like to get to know her. She's probably pretty cool. I'll tell you, she's really cool, but you got to let her out.
Welcome to yourbrilliance.com. I'm your host, Amy Waterman. For those of us who are parents, our kids are such a big part of our lives. We spend our days thinking about our kids and looking after our kids and worrying about our kids. So what happens when our kids leave home and we're left with this void? Now, luckily, I don't have to worry about that quite yet because my daughter's still young. But our guest for today, Coach Christine, had to bid goodbye to her daughter recently. Her daughter not only went off to college 4 years early, but several states away. That feeling of loss hit her hard until she realized that it was an opportunity for self-discovery. Today, Coach Christine guides mothers who are nervous about the empty nest ahead. She takes them from freaking out to freaking awesome. Christine is a master motivator, a conference speaker, and the host of the Your Empty Nest Coach podcast. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you, Amy. What a great intro.
Woohoo! Well, this is fun.
This is wonderful.
Mother to mother. Okay, so you have done it. You've faced the empty nest and survived. What was that experience like for you?
It was, short answer is it sucked. It was horrifying. You would not have known that to look at me. I'm very good at hiding my feelings. And my daughter's circumstance, she headed off to college early. I kind of didn't want to show any doubt at all that this needed to be the right thing. So on the outside, you'd think I have it all together, but I went from a Band-Aid being ripped off, basically, of her kind of being with me all the time. We had homeschooled a few years. I had driven her to community college to suddenly she's out of state. So it took a lot of work, and you have people around you who are jealous that you're in the empty nest. That was the one comment. That was when it hit me. Somebody said, "Oh my gosh, you guys get the empty nest 4 years early." And I was like, what? Wait, what? I was like, and it hit me what that meant. And then you start Googling an empty nest and sadness and all these things that I just wasn't ready for. So it was an experience. I made it, and I learned a lot about myself through it. So it's been a great thing.
I can't imagine. I would be one of those people that you lost 4 years with your daughter. So I'm not going to belabor that point because that's a bit depressing.
I lived in that for a month or so, I will say.
But a lot of parents, they know it's coming, right? Their kids leave home at 18. It's totally normal. But they're the same way because they are so busy doing college applications, buying all the stuff for the dorm room, figuring out how this is going to work, that when it comes, they're the same way as you. They're just like, wait a second, what now?
Yes. This is what I've noticed. And originally it's funny because some friends were coming to me for help and asking me, well, you did it and she went early. How did you get through it? And that's how it kind of started for me. And that is the one thing I've noticed. And no matter what you think it's going to be, it's life. It's never what you think it's going to be. So you can have all the best laid plans, but it's suddenly this world of, I've thought about it this morning, actually, and it sounds like I'm jumping, but I have a point, is that I was saying in an episode how we have all this time to adjust to becoming who we are at this moment as parents. But really, them heading off to college or them leaving is like that day you bring them home from the hospital or their first day home as an infant. And it's suddenly overnight, everything's changed. So, you could have read all the books and everything, but it's just that next day you wake up and they're not there. And it's very different. So no matter what you've read or thought, or your friends are like, they're fine, their husband and them are all golfing or whatever it is, and you don't feel that same way, suddenly like you're in it and you just have no idea what it's going to be like.
No, so it really is almost impossible to prepare then, because I mean, not, you don't even have time to prepare. You know what's going to happen, and then it's there. So your kids now are off at college. You come home, you look around. What do you do? What's the first thing someone should do when they come home to this silence?
Like, yeah, should do. I think what people most do is they have this list of things they want to do and they just dive in, because we're so used to, as parents, being busy, because we have to do life and we have to get to the next thing. And we don't really, who has time to think about yourself, right? And who has time? Okay, yeah, that made me feel really lousy, but I don't have time to think about that right now because I have to do this for my child or this for my partner. And you get to this moment where I think most of us feel like we just need to do that thing, whatever it is for you in that moment. And what we should do, and this is what I firmly believe will make all the difference, is if you take the time to process through those emotions. Like, you're sad, okay? Instead of like jumping into your list of things to do because you're sad, actually like be sad, because you are strong enough to get to the other side of sad. And you're not going to discover who you are until you process through the emotion. You can stay busy till you're dead. Really, it's kind of depressing, but you can. But do you maybe want to discover who you are? And I think for most of us, the answer is kind of like, no, you're kind of scared because you've been so busy. You're so busy being mom or dad or whatever that role is, that you don't know who you'll be without that around it. So it's crazy. It's kind of the same as like a job. Like if you're an attorney for so many years and suddenly you're not for whatever reason, your whole identity is gone. So it's very similar. It's the same stuff that you're dealing with. And it's easy to just go, okay, what's everyone else doing right now? I'm going to do that thing and not really process, does the me under all this that I've been shoving down all these years, does she want to come out? Do I want her to come out? I'd kind of like to get to know her. She's probably pretty cool. I'll tell you, she's really cool, but you got to let her out.
So this actually sounds terrifying. The thought of
Right?
not
I
being
know.
busy. I'm like, I don't know if I could actually do that. But the other thing that so many mothers do is they become, the remote mother. So like, okay, I'm not there anymore, but I will send care packages and I will send little reassuring texts, and I'll just make sure and call my kids once a week and make sure that, are they getting, so some mothers do try and parent from afar. Can we stay busy parenting a little bit more?
I think we can. And I think care packages are good. You just described like the opposite of me. And I'm like, oh, I'm awful. I didn't send any care packages. That's where grandmother's good for my daughter. But I think and that is the thing, finding the balance to know what is good for both you and your child, because suddenly you have to remember they're adjusting to a whole bunch of stuff wherever they are, whether it's college, it could be military for someone, it could be they're in their apartment for the first time. And this is a whole new experience for them too. So it's kind of like one of the things they tell you when you drop off your child, and it's same with like summer camps, is don't visit right away. Don't come in the first weekend. And a lot of that is because not only for you, but for them, they need the time. Might be the first time they've ever had to fend for themselves, and they don't have you to run to. So giving them the courage and the strength to know that they'll be okay if they don't have you there all the time is like a gift. And I think to view it that way, and yeah, they're going to make some crappy decisions. Some things are not going to go right. It's okay. That's how life works. And them knowing that they'll be okay and be able to get to the other side is like the gift you can give them, just like you're giving yourself. It's really cool once you get to that mental space, but it's hard work, because also by you staying involved reminds you that you have a purpose. So a lot of times it's hard, even on dads sometimes, to like, if there's their son that went, And sometimes the single dad, they go through all the same things. And, my son didn't call me. My son didn't text me. And that's okay. That's a good thing. That means they're active. They're doing things. They have a life. And if they say they're busy, they might actually be busy.
So that's actually a good question. So I guess I've been thinking about the mothers because I'm a mother, but what about the dads? Like, do the dads do all the kind of crazy things that the mothers do afterwards, like get really busy and try and, drown out the thought that the house is so empty? What do dads do?
So it's funny. I think this, I'll say it as parents, because I think in some relationships, the mom reacts one way and the dad reacts the other. Partners, you just have different roles. And then you have like single families and everything's different. But I think there are different levels. So there's the parent child, where the child was kind of like the best friend for the person. So they're going through that. And then you have the mom or dad who is so excited they left, they're fine, they don't care, they don't need me, they're good, right? Then you have the mom who feels that way, or dad, but they feel awful and guilty about it. And that's like, to not feel guilty, like it's just so much. And then you have, one partner's like, woohoo, we're alone, we've got more free time. And the other one's a sad puddle on the floor. And it's like, come on, can I have a week? So I think the important thing is to realize that more than likely, both of you are not going to feel the same way. And the way both of you feel is okay. So just because like you're sad and they're not, doesn't mean what they're experiencing is invalid, and vice versa. So just kind of love on each other as you go through it and be patient is really important.
So we don't have a lot of time, but I do want to talk about that. How does having the house empty and just the two of you, how does it affect your relationship? Like, especially if the two of you are processing emptiness differently, maybe there's a little bit more conflict, or do you end up feeling closer?
Yeah. And I think this is the important thing. I don't think I'm not, I don't know the statistics, but I think divorce does happen this time. And I think it's because suddenly the nest is empty. There's this time and you don't have the kids to buffer. So the choice then becomes, and it is a choice for both of you, is, do we stay? Do we work it out? Do we figure out, have we been connected all this time? And if we haven't, do we even know each other? Because the kids and everyone being in the house and being so busy is a really good excuse to not address things. So suddenly it's like, okay, here's all the issues that I should have addressed 10 years ago. And suddenly they become really important in your mind. They've been there, but it becomes just more obvious. So it's how you handle it. And I think the key is if you just love the other person, like, you're going to get through it. And it sounds, I know I make that sound easy. It's work, but it's worth it. Because when you're allowed to be who you are in a relationship, you both get stronger.
So this is going back to what you had said earlier about having some time to process your feelings after your children are gone. You believe that this is a great time for women to think about what they want and who they were before they became mothers. Like, I don't even know who that person was, but I'm sure she's around. And you actually help women through a process of self-discovery. How do you do that?
Yeah. So it takes more time than most women want. Like, Christine, I was this when I was 12 and this is my goal, or here's my list of things I want to do. And I'm a firm believer in, like, sure, you can do that and it might make you happy. And sometimes it's just like that staying busy thing, because that's what your plan's been all along. So you don't question it, or it's like the next thing you're supposed to do. So you don't question it. But when you take the time to figure out what's going in your mind and the thoughts that you have and how you're treating yourself, and you start to explore all the emotions that come out, you can then, it's like taking layers off of yourself. Like, I feel like we have motherhood and partner and job, or, child, because, we have our own parents and all these things. So we have to start to like work our way through the layers and our thoughts about all of those roles. And sometimes what we find is the more we clear out everything, the person that we are underneath it all isn't like who we thought at all. And she's super cool. She's awesome. We've been hiding her. But that is the one thing I've discovered is that sometimes, someone's idea of who they're going to be in 5 years and then them doing the work and figuring out how to process through their thoughts and emotions, suddenly like things arise that give them more power and just more excitement and passion in their life. And they take a whole new track that they never thought they would. And sometimes they discover that they're perfectly happy where they are and they don't want more. And that's okay. And for them to be okay with that, because I think there's a lot of us who believe that, okay, now we have to do our thing. And for some of us, our thing is, this, and we love it. And it's just different for everyone. I think that's the key is to tune into who you are underneath it. I'm a firm believer. I call it the GPS, but it stands for green popsicle stick. It's a whole funny thing. But finding who our future us is and tuning into them and using that as our GPS is just becomes so powerful. But you can't find her until you do this work.
Yes.
This work.
And you offer, now these terrify me, these empty nest retreats where, this is a scary bit, you take women off camping for a weekend. They can't have any technology. They got to start a fire using sticks. Why do you think that's important?
It's so funny because when I brought this up, I mentioned it to people and they're like, yeah, it sounds great. And others were like, well, I'll do it if it's at a 5-star resort or if it's at the beach or if you have catering. And and I went down that road, but that's not where I feel led to help women. So what's interesting that I find about camping is that even if you are somebody who camps as a family, you normally, once you get to the site, you fall into specific roles. So mom will cook, dad will put up the tent. He'll never be the one to touch the wood to start a fire. What is that? And there's a fire starter log or things that just we're kind of still in our own life, but we've just taken it and moved it to the woods, if that makes sense. So what I found is that by challenging women to have their own site, I am right next door. I have a huge tent. If something goes wrong, we all pile in there. It's all good. If we have self-service, you can send a picture to your husband because you're probably going to be pretty proud when you put that tent up, which is what I've seen. But to see a woman, get out of the car and be really unsure of herself and then put up a tent herself. And then I hand her steel and magnesium and they're not sure, but then suddenly they can start a fire and see them want to start it again and again. The empowerment's incredible. And there is nothing about that experience that is typically routine in anyone's life. So you're forced to be extremely present. You're forced to be present in that moment. You're forced to okay, there's a fly about to be on my food. I'm going to think about that. I'm going to think about putting up the tent. I'm going to think about this, which just takes us out of everything that is mom, parent, wife, job. And I found that is extremely powerful.
Wow. Now you have a free 7-day course for your Brilliance viewers that can help them get started on just at home doing some of these exercises to start figuring out what they want and who they're going to be. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so this is just to kind of get you dreaming again and kind of get in tune with the idea of the person who at some point in your life would dream. So, and for those of us, it's all different ages. Some of us, it was 6, we were forced to be a young adult and we stopped dreaming. And so it's a different stage in our life, but there's some point in your life, hopefully, I hope, where you would dream crazy dreams. You're going to be a dinosaur scientist on the moon. So we want to kind of tap into and find that version of you. Cause again, I feel like she's there, she's under the layers. So we want to tune into her, and we don't want to then go, okay, well, that me wanted to be a dinosaur scientist on the moon. That's not the point. The point is to tap into that energy that dreamt and realize we can still dream and do crazy things that make no logical sense, but you can still pull it off. So it's to tap into that. And I walk you through online 7 days of information. It's let's find her, let's choose one, let's sit down and write down all the crazy ideas that come to you. Now let's pick one. And now let's imagine that life in detail and see what you think about it. Because at the end of this, you may go, oh, I really don't like that aspect of that. And discovering something you don't want to do is just as important as discovering something that you love, really.
That's fantastic. And for those of you watching, if you want to get the free 7-day course, we have a link for you. Just go to yourbrilliance.org/empty nest. That's yourbrilliance.org/empty nest. Christine, thank you so much for coming onto the show. And I wondered if you had any last message you would like to leave our viewers with.
Oh, sure. So first of all, thanks for having me here, Amy. I know how protective I am of my audience, so I'm honored that you would have me here with yours. So thank you. And I guess the tagline of every podcast episode that I have is "You are amazing." And what I want to leave you with today is that you are amazing. And if you don't believe it, use my belief in you that you are amazing. Check your thoughts, be kind to yourself, because what I have discovered as humans is that we spend our whole lives beating ourselves up inside, and we say things in our heads to ourselves that we would never say to a loved one or a friend. So be cognizant of that, notice it, and just love on yourself, because you are brilliant and amazing.
Fantastic. Thank you, Christine. And thank you out there for watching. We hope to see you again soon. Until then, let your brilliance shine.